So today we've been on a little bit of a negative or downward spiral, if you will. And I've been making a bunch of connections. First, okay, not first. One of them, yesterday, this one just occurred to me when I was taking my skates off. Yesterday, I was taking Gracie back to her house before she got to see Grandma, because Grandma pissed me off yesterday, right? I mentioned that in the second video I did. Well, it's kind of funny because the first video I did yesterday was kind of a build-up and kind of a little bit of an outburst, and the second video was kind of the fuming of that, if you will. I talked about how my mom was trying to pull me back into her shit again, right? And yesterday's mode of that was, I did not know she had talked to my brother about wanting to pick Gracie up from school yesterday. So when the camper cell fell through, and they came back home, she starts talking about wanting to go to Sam's Club to get Gracie's broccoli cheddar soup. Can't talk today. That Gracie discovered like last weekend, and has discovered that she liked it, right? So Mom wanted to go get some more of that for Gracie. She decides this at 1:15. Yesterday was early pickup day, so pickup was at 3. So she did not have time to go the 35 minutes over to the store, get whatever she wanted to get, and then get back the 35-minute drive back to pick the kid up. So I got drug into picking Gracie up because she changed her plans in the middle of the afternoon and on short notice, so she wasn't able to handle it, right? So, because I will not just like dump the kid, that's where it came in. So I end up getting roped into picking the kid up when I hadn't known that was falling to us yesterday, right? I didn't know she'd had the conversation with my brother that she wanted to pick her up or any of that stuff. I found out after the fact. But after she decided to change her plans and go do the other thing. So I mentioned in the second video that I was really tempted to pick the kid up and take her back home immediately so my mom didn't even get to see her, because I knew that my mom was just wanting me to hang out with her over there until my mom got back, and then Mom can be the hero because she just got Gracie's favorite soup and blah blah blah. I didn't play along. When Gracie and I were leaving the school parking lot, I said, "What do you want to eat?" And she says, "We should go to Taco Bell." All right, fine. Taco Bell's just right up the road. No big deal. So we go and do that. When we go down to Taco Bell, we're talking about, or I said we were going to wait out in the parking lot for a minute, and I was going to put in the order, and then we go pick it up in the drive-thru and take it back to Grandma's house. And she's like, "Why don't we just eat in the restaurant?" It's like, okay, fine. I got no reason that we can't do that. And it kills more time, I guess. So Gracie and I go into Taco Bell, order the food on the little kiosk thing, and then we waited on our food, and then we sat there and ate our food. I wasn't sure that was my brother's car for a second. It's not. But when we left, it was like 3:35. Of course, we go back to Grandma's house, which, yes, I live there, but I'm just calling it Grandma's house because it's not even home. It's just somewhere I live at the moment at this point. So we go back there for a little bit. I feed the dogs. And I was texting my brother. I told him what was going on, and he's like, he knew something had happened because my mom sent a message to the group text saying that change of plans, she was running to Sam's Club for Gracie's soup, and I was going to pick up Gracie. And after I fed the dogs, I went to the bathroom real quick. I was, texting my brother and throughout this whole process, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to bring her back home. It's like, Mom's not back yet. She left at 1:15 to go to Sam's Club to get this broccoli cheddar soup that she wanted to get for Gracie. But we all know if she goes to Sam's Club, she's not only getting the one thing she's going after. She's going to, find other things that I even mentioned. I think I spouted off about that in the video yesterday, too. It's like, she's going to find other things. She's at very least coming back with, grapes and whatever. She did. So she was gone from 1:15 to about 4. Well, about 10 to 4, Gracie and I left. I said, Gracie, I have class tonight, and I was kind of wanting to go there a little early so I could stop somewhere on the way. I said, so I'm going to go ahead and take you back home. She said, she was a little disappointed sounding that she didn't see Grandma because she was supposed to see Grandma. But she said, that's okay. And we go there. The other part of my plans, the part where I wanted to run to Spencer's and see if they had any other jewelry from my weird piercings. I'll be honest. I have some odds and ends that I want to switch out, but I'm really also kind of a little anxious about doing that because I don't know, I've never changed anything. I know that the eyebrow piercing, that one I had one point in time, the top one popped off, and the piercer had said to just, make sure to, do that every now and then to make sure it's tight. Well, the other ones, you got to use tools to separate them. And that makes me a little nervous. I mean, not like I have the tools I need to do it. I don't want to lose my piece of turquoise because I got a little wild and lost my grip on the thing and it went flying somewhere, whatever. I have this whole scenario, right? The tiger's eye I lost, and so this is just a regular earring, and it is not agreeable with my headphones that I was using because I keep snagging it on the back of it because it's a regular post, and that's not cool. But I wanted to go to Spencer's. That didn't happen. What did happen, I took Gracie back home, and my brother was coming out, and I got out of the car, and we were standing in the front of the garage, and we talked for a while. I had mentioned to him last week that I had some stuff that I wanted to talk to him about, and he's like, well, just let me know when you're coming. All right. So since I was taking Gracie over, and he met me out there, and then we just started talking and kind of covered what we were talking about, or what I had wanted to talk about, which the biggest thing was I was going to talk to him about the fact that I'm at the point with our parents that when I'm gone, I'm gone. And I said at this point, I think I'm pretty much done with the family. And he said, well, he's like, even us? It's like, well, not you. It's like, you and Aaron are fine. It's like, but everyone else, it's like, I said, honestly, it's like, okay, the middle sister, I know if I say I'm not talking to my mom about something, she will try not to say anything. Usually she's going to forget about it in some capacity. But at the same time, if she had access to my stuff and my mom didn't, like on Facebook or whatever, then I do think she would pull me up every once in a while for my mom to get some insight on what was going on in my life or whatever. I can say this because, when my one cousin, the middle sister's son, the youngest of all the cousins, he went through a phase at some point in time. I don't remember how many years ago it happened. He deleted everybody in the family except for like me and my mom and like the one cousin. I don't know how many people he kept on there. It was not very many. And his parents were definitely not on there. And those that have had access, not me, I don't pay attention to what he's doing on there very much at all. But like my mom did at one point, used to go in there and show my aunt what was going on there. So it's like, yeah, I'm pretty confident she'd return the favor on that end. So, but yeah, I was like, I think I'm at that point. I think I'm ready to be done. And, okay, I mentioned there is potentially an opportunity to put myself in front of somebody, right? Somebody specific, yes. And I have been going back and forth with the possibilities and trying to talk myself out of it. A couple weeks ago, sometime last week, I drew some cards, the Animal Apothecary deck, and it was a bunch of highly favorable things, and like, you're about to shine, and you are more, and like all these things. And then the last one was breakthrough. And the importance of the breakthrough card was the point of, when you're on the verge of a breakthrough, be aware that your lizard brain will potentially try to self-sabotage and keep you from stepping into the next level, right? Keep you from being able to go through with the breakthrough. And so I've kind of been spinning my wheels with like different aspects of this possibility and whatnot, and it lined up perfectly with when I said my conversation with the universe. I said, I'm ready to get to the stuff that's meant for me. The love, the career, the life in general, the friends, all that stuff. It's like, I'm ready to get to the stuff I've been blocked from. And if the only way I can get to that stuff is by walking away from this family, I am absolutely to that point. I am ready. Let's do it. So then this other opportunity falls in front of me, and it's like, okay, well, maybe, but then I was really, really wishy-washy on it. And it was like, okay, if this, and this happen, okay, if I had a dream that these three things happened, or something was brought up in the dream that connected those 3 points, then I would know that I was meant to do the thing. I didn't have that dream. But I woke up basically having a conversation with something on the other side, if you will. And it's like, I don't really have a grasp of whatever happened, but what I do have is a solid realization of, you said the thing, you said you were ready to be done with that to move into the next thing, and then here's this part that could very well open the door for that part of your life to come in. And you're talking about not going through with it because of these various silly reasons, really. Basically because self-sabotage. I was trying to talk, just going back into the idea of why I wasn't ready, if you will. And then it's like, if you always have excuses for not being ready, then you're never going to be ready, right? And making excuses is something I have done very well in my lifetime, but not solid ones. And it hasn't been necessarily because I was doing anything worthwhile. Thus, I've never done anything worthwhile in my lifetime. I've just done these little piddly things to teach me the lessons along the way and try to guide me on the journey. And then I shift self-sabotage mode like damn near every single time. That's what I'm notorious for, right? So, yeah. So anyway, I think one of the pieces of that self-sabotage bit was stirred up with the situation with my mom, right? Now, keeping in mind that whatever happens outside of yourself is a reflection of what's going on inside. So, if I'm always expecting this kind of bullshit to come up, it's always going to come up, right? And I'm really kind of over it, but yeah. Still navigating the things, still learning the things and working on moving beyond it. But so I talked to my brother for a while, told him the things, and he said that when I got the text from my mom where she said that she was picking or was going to Sam's Club and I was picking Gracie up, change of plans. He said he thought there was something like that going on. He said he told Jen he had the feeling that she did something. And I was like, oh yes, indeed. So I was annoyed, right? With the whole thing, not with Gracie and not with my brother or any of them, just with the fact that my mom threw me into her chaos again, and I felt like I didn't have an option but to go along with it. Part of that is because I did the thing yesterday morning that I didn't want to, right? And that was not making the self-honoring choice, basically. So it was this big pressing thing. We have to get this camper out of here so we can sell it. And because they were in such a rush, they left a bunch of shit in the driveway, and I was just supposed to get it and clean it up, or put it in the house or in the garage. I didn't want to. And most of the time, that's good enough. Yesterday, I was looking at the sky, and it's like, it looks like it's going to rain. And then I kind of started to feel bad about the idea of leaving shit out in the rain and blah, blah, blah. And so I got part of it put in the garage. Even though as I was doing it, it didn't feel good. And it's like, shouldn't be doing this. Don't want to do this. Did it anyway. Then the afternoon thing came up, and I ended up coming over here and picking Gracie up. But I did get her back over to her house, and Grandma didn't get to spend any time with her because Grandma was pissing around with stupid shit. So it basically just put me on the downward spiral, right? And I talked to my brother for a while. We had a good conversation. When I went to leave for class, I was like, oh man, I'm going to be late. Because I started to leave at one point, and then Jen came out there and started talking, and talked a little longer, and it's like, I got to go to class, and then, because I already paid for it, and then I left. It was like, it wasn't hugely late. I was like 10 minutes late. The funny thing is, when I go to check in with the cashier, I didn't tell her that I had already paid, so she was putting it in the system a different way and getting ready for me to pay, which usually I do pay when I'm there. This time I paid online just to make sure I went. Because I had the money in the account, so it's like, all right, we're just gonna do this and make sure we're there. So there's a little bit of a delay there. I get back to the door for the class, and okay, so it's two doors that open up, and there's like a little piece of like trim or something on one, so you have to have it closed one specific way, because otherwise it's not going to close because of the little wood piece, right? When I go in the classroom where it's already started, the door's not opening. It's like, what the fuck is going on? And it's trying to move it the way it always has to be open to get in so you can open the doors beyond that stupid wood piece and all that stuff. And there was something, okay, there was like one of those room divider things. That's where they put a bunch of the chairs and stuff after the group. Apparently, it had gotten bumped and was like in front of the door that normally is the one that opens to go in easier. And I think it normally opens better that way because there's usually a chair close to the other door. And so it's this big whole ordeal. And it's like I'm trying to get in the class and I can't get in the class, and it's like nobody's helping or anything. It's like, what the fuck is going on here right now? It's like my head goes in the door and then I see that there's a thing over there. It's like, okay, so I can't go that way, and like nobody's really saying anything. Or I mean, they were kind of joking, but like nobody was participating in the helping of the opening of the door since there was a thing in front of it. And it's like, all right. So in hindsight, I could have taken that as maybe you should just go home and not do this today, which I wouldn't have done that at that point anyway because I already drove the 30 minutes over there. So it's like, nah, I would have been there. Plus I paid. And I could have theoretically had that switched to like next week or something, which I'm glad I went and watched the video that we watched last night. But it was just a whole freaking ordeal, right? So it's like this one little moment of not being self-honoring in the early part of the day, and then all this other stuff starts going wrong. And I didn't make a connection at that point until it just kept going, right? And really, the connection came today. Because, okay, so there was an open seat for me last night. And it was all nice and snuggly in there because there's a whole lot of people. Not as crowded as it occasionally has been, but still pretty crowded. And so like the first half of the group, I had my coat on and didn't even feel like I had room to take it off, which was fine because since I'd stood outside with my brother for so long and talked, it was actually kind of chilly yesterday, and like my hands and feet were still freezing when I got there. So it's like, I don't really feel like taking my coat off at this point in time. Now, before we got to the video, she did ask if anybody wanted to use the bathroom. And of course I did, because I had been thinking about getting up and going that way. I tried to go before I went to the class because I was already late. So it's like, yeah, I got time for that. But there was somebody in there. So it's like, don't want to keep pissing around with it. So I was skipping it. So she asked about that. I take a potty break, and there was like one other person that wanted to do that too before the video. So when I got back, took my jacket off before I left, but it's like, it was all fine. It all worked out. Then, now keeping in mind, it's still just a little wobbly. Gracie and I had Taco Bell at like 3 o'clock. So I wasn't really super hungry. It was like 8 o'clock when we were at the restaurant and got the food. I could have skipped yesterday. I should have skipped yesterday. But I didn't, because I like the group and the visiting the other people. Well, I should have skipped. So we go to the restaurant, and I sit by this girl that I don't talk to a whole lot. Because when I started going to the class, we hit it off, and it seemed like she was somebody that I would be friends with. But there was this guy, and he hasn't been to the group in a long time. He was the one that at one point, when I was talking about like the different ways I was trying to use to solidify my boundaries, if you will, he started kind of poking at me, if you will, and don't you think you're being a little too into the boundary thing? You're going overboard, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, at first, I had to sit with that. It's like, am I doing too much to protect my energy? That's basically the question. And there were a few things that made me come to the realization that no, I was not doing too much to protect my energy. In fact, it would probably be okay to step it up a little further. Yeah. So, he had a group that he led at one point, and I don't remember what exactly it was. He was really into Tantra, and it had something to do with that. But he's like leading this practice where you're like visualizing this thread that basically connects to every single person in the room, kind of a thing. And when he was done, he was just going to leave it that way. You're all connected now. You're stuck together. Kind of a thing. But luckily, I think Annie caught on to what, I don't know if she saw it for what he was doing or just considered it as he just wasn't thinking clearly on how that could be an issue with having all these connections, right? And most of us were none the wiser because, it just seemed like an activity. You're visualizing being connected to all of these people and sending love to all of the people and blah, blah, blah. But Annie made sure to end the class with disconnecting that and undoing all of that, which was very good. And in hindsight, I'm incredibly grateful for that. But there was another night, because he used to go to the little dinner afterwards on a regular basis too. And the one time he asked me about if I was being too cautious with my boundaries. Another time, he had started messing around on a dating app and was feeling sorry for himself and said something about his experience. And I said something about good luck with that, and that I was so over the dating app thing because last time I tried had some really bad experiences. Kind of funny because the specific one that I was talking about to him, I goofed on how, I couldn't remember all of the details on what had happened. But basically, what it was this guy that had been on the dating app for a while, right? And I know this because I got the dating app, and then I went invisible mode just to see who was there and if there was anything interesting on it. And I wasn't real impressed at first, and it made me uncomfortable. So it was very short-lived, but I gave it a shot again a couple months later, and the same people popped back up again. It's like, okay. Well, at one point, I decided to make myself not be invisible on there, and this one guy reaches out, and he sent me an icebreaker, and then sent me a message, and then sent me another message. But it was like, I was working at the one factory at the time, and I was kind of just really tired and wasn't really thinking, hey, let's go play on the dating app and see if anybody worthwhile is on the thing, right? It was just kind of not really in the mood when it started showing up. So I didn't do anything with the icebreaker at first. Then he sent me a message that, hey, I saw your profile, thought we'd be a pretty good match, blah, blah, blah. And I was just not feeling it. And I didn't want to do anything with it at that time. I wanted to wait till my day off so I had a little bit of time to not be in work mode. And keeping in mind was the freaking middle of a pandemic, no less. He ended up, I think, like the third message, he got like irate and was being a dick, and you should at least have the decency to talk to me. I sent you a message because I thought we'd be a good match and blah, blah, blah. And didn't anybody teach you any manners? This kind of a thing. And I was just like, dude, thank you for showing me your red flags. And all I had to do was give it a minute. Like, was not want to interact with you right away because I wanted to have some clarity before I tried to make any, or think about this kind of connection. And he never sat right with me to begin with. And he was on the app and clearly wasn't having a whole lot of luck with it because he'd been there the first time that I was there. And when I went back into it, it looked like he was still on there. And anyway, I'm telling this guy some kind of the story. I did respond to that guy, and it was not very nice. But when I mentioned it to the guy from the group, he got pissy about the whole situation too. And well, I get where he's coming from, and you should have the decency to contact him and whatever. And it's like, the whole thing, it felt like a misguided attack at me was what it felt like. Because I was clearly not interested in any of that. He was very friendly and he'd just give you a hug and feel your energy and all this shit, right? And he, okay, of course, I have been open with the group on the fact that I am on a twin flame journey. And that I understand a lot of people don't like that idea. The first time I mentioned it in the group, Annie kind of was like, I could tell she did not like the idea of it at all. And it's like, had I gone to the class when I thought about starting back in 2020, right at the end of the year, I probably would have listened to her and been like, yeah, that's probably fucked up. Because I went when I did and had already had these experiences that were showing me this is a very specific path that I am on. And yes, it is very much something that has kept me moving, like this whole healing journey in and of itself, like the ridiculously painful aspects that I would have just turned in on myself and run away from. It's like, I wasn't able to do that anymore. I started doing this freaking channel, and there's 3s at the top for that. Because I realized it's like he had to be in some kind of spotlight for me to find him, but how would he ever find me if I did never do anything, right? So I started doing the channel, and then it started becoming a healing process. And then this started to be less difficult. It takes way less time to start doing a video now. I'm used to. I could kill up to an hour just fighting with my phone and the nerves and anxiety of hitting the damn record button and starting. And now it's like, oh, that sounds stupid. Fuck it, whatever. We're just rolling. So yeah. But when I would mention the twin flame stuff, he hit a point where at one point he was actively mocking me, and it's like, dude, the fuck do you think you are, man? But he always wanted to hug me and have access to my energy, and it was really weird. And when he's hugging you, he'd be like, just breathing in all the good air and blah, blah, blah. You can't take a deep breath when you're busy talking over the top of it real fast. But yeah, like taking a deep breath and, just kind of trying to absorb your energy or whatever. And it's like, this is weird. He was very encouraging of my friendship with that girl. And what I have realized was it was because if she had access to me, he had access to her and could get to my energy because of her. So when I made that connection, I I set this intention one night. I was like, if the only reason we have this connection is so that he has access to my energy, it's done. I said that connection is no more. And wouldn't you know, she kind of fell off the planet after that. It's like, Now, keeping in mind, I stopped going to group for a little while. But then once I did go back, there was always kind of a weird little thing there. And of course, she was at one point going to him for some kind of lessons on something. So yeah, he very much had access to her energy. And if I stayed connected to her, then he would have had access to my energy through her, because yes, it does work that way. And that actually is something that showed me that it does work that way, because I didn't say anything to him or her. It was kind of a turn in, and it's like saying within myself, if this is just so he has access to my energy, then we will not be connected any longer. He does not get access to me. And then it disappeared. And when I started going back to group, we talked at one point, and it seemed really awkward and uncomfortable. It's like, yeah. It's like, there's a reason for that. And it's not that I'm going to be mean to her or anything. She just doesn't get access to my energy because, I don't know if she's still connected to him in any way, but I know enough from that experience that if she's still connected to his energy, he's getting access to whatever. It's going back to that point of like my ex was. Like, he was literally a parasite on my energetic system. And I realized that because of that dream. The first dream after I connected with the twin flames energy, and like he started showing up in dreams all the time. There was the one where I was sitting on a couch with my ex. Ziva was on my lap, and behind the couch on 4 stools were 4 of the guys in this band, twin flame included, and the other one was MIA. But I came across him in another part of the dream. But the first time I had this dream, it's like I was so confused at why they were there. But then as I started making connections and sorting things out for myself, then I started realizing different things. Like one of the first things was, because I've been able to go back into that dream and like find different pieces of information through it. The first, I was so busy being mad at my ex, and I didn't know why, but I thought it had something to do with the 2 dogs that weren't in the dream for some reason. I didn't know where they were or why they weren't there. And it was just like this almost rage against him. And I think the next, I talked to the twin flame. It's like I could see him, but it was like he was aware of me but couldn't really focus on me by any means. It's like he was looking for me not knowing that like I was at this completely different level, right? And he said, if you need my help, let me know. And I said, I feel like I have to do this by myself. And I don't remember if that was all in the first dream or if that was like 2 times into it. But I know at one point when I was talking about the dream on here, I was randomly talking about the anger being red and black. And then I made the connection with, the frequency of color, and red is connected to, is associated with the root chakra, and black is one with that too. Black is a protective color. So, I've talked about how at one point, I think it was like 2020, I watched a gem goddess reading, and the pile that I picked, she said, black dogs are important and mean it's just about time. I was like, well, that's clearly for me, because this is the only point in my life that I've ever had black dogs, and I have 3 that are primarily black. So obviously there's something to that, right? So yeah, it's like when I realized that the anger was red and black, it had to do with like safety and feeling unsafe. And what I realized was, I don't remember which point in returning back to the dream it was, but at one point I realized that my ex was basically a leech on my energy. And as long as I was holding on to all that anger toward him, I was still supplying him with the energy he needed to do whatever the fuck he was doing in his narcissistic little existence. And I was the one that was being affected by that, right? So, so that was going back to, the parasitic energy. So, the idea of this girl having had this connection with that guy, it's like, I'm pretty confident he was very much a parasite on her energy, and I think he still is. And I don't know if they still have any kind of connection, but I'm pretty confident that she's still dealing with some of the fallout of that, just from what I've seen of her energetically. And it's like, I've thought about asking her if she's still connected to him at all, and I probably should, and throw out, have you cleared your energy from him? Because that's something that I think would probably help her, to be honest. But at the same time, it's like, I'm trying not to get too involved, because I don't want him to have access to mine again either. So, since it's all about energetic cords, so last night, I go to this restaurant with these people that I love spending time with. But everything was kind of going in a not so favorable direction, right? And like just throughout the night. Oh, that was one I forgot. On the way back over to my brother's house, when I was driving Gracie over there was a hawk that I saw that damn near hit the side of my car. And I think had I not looked over when I did, he probably would have. I think it was specifically to get my attention. He was chasing a bird. And yeah, like he was probably within like 5 feet of the car. Yeah, it was like, the hell? I just happened to look over there right at that time and like braced myself, and he like flew away, which I was immensely grateful for. But that, I didn't even make the connection about that being a close call situation with what's been going on for me until literally I got done skating a few minutes ago. And so last night I go to the dinner thing with these people, and I ended up sitting across from this girl. And the guy that sits next to her also, like she and him were both meeting with that guy at one point in time. And I sat down before they did. If if I had known they were going to sit there, I probably would have sat at the other end. But then it's like, I don't want to just be rude and like get up and, I don't want to sit by you. Sorry. But yeah, so I'm sitting there across from them, and this other lady that girl now takes classes through, or lessons from, or whatever, some kind of lessons, or Reiki or something. She was sitting next to me, and I had hoped to. I like sitting by Annie because we usually have a good conversation at some point. But there was a seat by me, but she came in with 2 other people, and since there were 3 of them, they sat at the other end of the table. And he was like, damn, should have sat at that end, which I had the thought of maybe I should go down to that side, but then I didn't. So then we're sitting there and just having conversations. I didn't really do a whole lot of talking last night. They liked my shirt because I had my the female gaze Medusa shirt with Petrify the Patriarchy. And they liked that. Yeah, I should have sat at the other end. This is the thing. Basically, the big problem was I didn't stop and check in with myself at all on where I would best or where we should best go, or even if I should even bother going with that part that evening or last night. So the only time I really talked to anybody, I think, was the lady next to me. And of course, after the girl across from me had talked about how she's basically entering into some kind of caretaking situation with her mom, who has a bunch of the same health problems my mom has, I was just kind of like, yeah. And I don't really know how it came up, but the lady next to me said something. It's like, yeah, I don't have that connection or whatever. And I said that I had recently had the realization that, and set the intention that if walking away from this family is what it takes to get me to where I'm supposed to go and to the connections that I'm meant to have in my life, then I'm ready to do that. And that I wouldn't feel bad about it, because the stuff with the family and whatnot. And I don't remember what exactly I said. I know the gist of it was, I gave her a rough overview. It was like very rough overview on the toxic connection there. And she starts in on something with forgiveness. And it's like, see, but that's not the thing. I said, I don't feel like forgiveness is the issue here. I feel like literally my entire life, I have looked at my family and seen how they're existing from their wounded spaces, yet do nothing about it. And it's like, I've spent my whole life trying to fix that for them, and I cannot do that, and I am done doing that. I said, so this is strictly a boundary thing, because they don't want to heal, they just want to remain in their misery. I'm not going to stick around for that. I am not going to, allow myself to just constantly be pulled back into their bullshit. So I never get to go anywhere in my life or do anything I want to do because I can see them living from their wound. It's like the fact that they've been living from their wound is a big part of why I've made the decisions I have in my life. Like, I've talked many times about how when I was in high school, I decided I would never have kids if I could not heal from the wounding I was getting because of their refusal to heal from their stuff. And I'm immensely grateful I had that intention. Yeah. At one point, my ex was trying to talk me into having a baby, and like having a baby would fix anything. It's like, fuck you, dude. I ain't having kids with you. It's like, that would be a very bad idea. Yeah. So Anyway, like after that, I didn't really contribute to any of the conversation, I don't think. And like they were, I'd say, little things to people nearby, and nothing real trying to get a conversation going or anything by any means. Excuse me. Yeah. At some point, it shifts to politics and all that bullshit. You know how much I don't like politics. You know, and they're talking about like the money stuff and this, that, and the other thing. Like, and I just like all the table. It's like it starts somewhere in the middle, and then like one side's talking about one thing, and then the other side's talking about the other thing. And I checked out and like started watching TV, and it was like a soccer game, something. It's like, I don't watch soccer, but okay. I watch numbers. So I'm just gonna go visit over here and watch this thing. And it's like very much disconnected from the group and not trying to be a part of it. And honestly, if we hadn't already ordered food, I probably would have gone ahead and left. But we ordered food, and I was waiting on my food. Then I was eating my food. And all the time, it's like I kept just going back to the TV and like trying to be as disconnected from the conversation as possible. And it's like, though it shifted in a few places, it was still largely, you know, AI and all that shit. The biggest thing when they were talking that the biggest thing that came to mind was a problem cannot be solved from the level it was created. And, you know, I wasn't close enough to the one side to say that, and I would have chimed in with that on that end. But the other end that I was sitting on, it's like, yeah, I just don't feel like I'm going to add anything over here. So I just didn't. So eventually, I got a box for the rest of my food. I paid the guy. As soon as I paid, I was up and out of there. Like, I didn't even say anything. It was just out. And the people across from me knew I was leaving only because they saw me put my jacket on, like, just because I was like sitting in my chair and I like pulled it up and put my sleeve in it on one side. And it's like I had to, the way I put my jacket on, I had to stand up to get the chair out of the jacket because I was just kind of moving. And, you know, I grabbed my shit and I just bolted. And everybody's like, bye, Sarah. It's like, just did one of these over my shoulder and, you know, kept going. You know, and then I was thinking, it's like on the way home, it's like, yeah, they all probably think I'm nuts at that point. There's been another time that's happened with the group, and that was the week before Annie's trip, I think. A couple people, okay, one lady brought some fears about something, some political bullshit that was going on, and like she's obsessing over this one thing, and then somebody across the room like starts talking to her, and he's very much on the other side of it, and then it's like a back and forth, and oh my god, I like that day, like I stood up and like walked out of the room because it's like Annie wasn't in there at that point in time, and just the way that they kept, you know, it's one of those things where it just keeps elevating and nothing's getting resolved, and just everybody, no, they're not feeling heard by the other person, and, you know, they're stuck in their thing, and it's just like, nope, not doing that. So I like walked out of the room that day. And Annie was like on her way back to the room. I followed her back in, but it's like I didn't tell her that I walked out because anything was going on in the class. I just walked out because I didn't want to be around it. But then when I walked back in there, it was fine. You know, and somebody mentioned something toward the end of it. But, yeah. And that girl was talking about the importance of the conversation, I think. but also the discomfort of how elevated it got in like a short span of time. It's like, dude, that's why I walked out. And yeah, and Annie said that they have a rule for the class that they're not supposed to talk politics in the class because there are some very strong opinions in there, and they just going to take it off topic, so they're not going to talk about it. But then that was basically what happened at the table. So it was like, ugh. So today, oh my God, it has, okay, so I get up and go about my process, getting ready, planning to do a video like right away, right? And my brother sent me this thing. He was talking to me about a song he found yesterday, or not yesterday, somebody sent it to him from his group that he did back in the fall. And because we were talking about like the shadow and the light aspect, and I said that what I realized was that you can't get rid of your shadow. That's just a part of you. Like, that's part of who you are. So for like the religious types to tell you to run like hell from the darkness, is basically trying to keep you from embracing the fullness of who you are, because that is something we can't just get rid of. Part of existing is having both the light and the dark within us. And if you refuse to look at the dark and to see what's there because you're so afraid of it that you aren't willing to do the healing that's needed in that space too, or to find like the negative aspects of yourself, it's, I don't know. I think that's a big part of why so many people are running from themselves, because, we're conditioned that the darkness is bad, the shadow is bad, but then the shadow doesn't leave you alone if you're ignoring it. It gets louder. My brother was talking about this song that one of his friends from his group had sent him, and this morning he sent it to me. And it's a song called Hi Ren by Ren. And I listened to it this morning. Oh my God, I love it so much. This is another good music day. Good music discovery day, I guess. And I've listened to it probably like 5 or 6 times today already. It's long, so there is that part of it. But it's like a YouTube video. And, that's like one of the things he says at the end of it is that, I'm at 33%, so that's why. Oh, shit. My phone is almost out of space. So I should probably wrap this up and go clear some space before it kicks me off. We're going to say, thank you, universe, that's not gonna, I'm not gonna get booted before I'm done. But I'm gonna try to get done quick, because it like went dark for a second. It's like, what happened? Anyway, one of the things he's talking about is like, the more he went into the light, the bigger the shadow got too. It's like, because, it's literally a back and forth. But it's about coming to balance and finding your center and, that space in between. And I've talked about that on here a lot, even though like a lot of it has been trying to work through that whole back and forth kind of thing. Yeah, but then like, okay, so I discovered the song this morning. And my brother and I talked a little bit. And then, literally as I was getting ready to go do my video, I realized that there's been a conversation in the group text. Keeping in mind, anything with my parents in it, I have recently muted. So I didn't see that stuff. Apparently my brother needed somebody to print something off because their printer is not hooked up anymore. And he needed it for his appointment today. So I was like, well, okay. So I went ahead and printed it off, and then he said he was going to come get it in like 10 minutes. So then I was like, okay, well, I can't do anything with that because the video end of things, because as soon as I get started, the dogs are going to start barking because he's here. So it's like, well, I'm going to wait till after that. Well, then I found out my parents were on their way back too, because I hadn't responded to the other conversation, so they thought they might still need that, whatever. So since they were on their way back, it's like, okay, well, screw this, I'll go walk the dogs. So I went and walked the dogs. And when I get back, I was thinking, my brother said that they were picking Gracie up today, and I knew after yesterday they were going to make sure they got her and not pull me into their shit again. So I was going to do a video when they went to get her. That was not working out either. So, I started 2 videos and they were just like fucked up, incoherent, not good at all. Like one of them I did was like 20 minutes. The other one I think I got 10 in and it was like, fuck this is not working out at all. And so I just quit on it. And I sent Ben a message, just like, I just cannot do this today. And then it's like, you know what? I need to skate. And then I realized it's like, back to that chaos thing. It's like, there's been so much in my system. It started with not going along with knowing I didn't want to help with the shit with the camper, and then doing it anyway, and then it was just like a downward spiral that kept like pulling at me, and that's literally all it's been. And like all of today too, it's like just all this little stuff that keeps coming up and not working in a favorable direction on that end. It's like just a bunch of stuff pulling at me. So I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna go skate. And then I'm not gonna be upset about this part. Like, they ended up going to Taco Bell with Gracie, and she got excited because she thought of me when they were over there, and she knew I liked the nacho fries because I got some yesterday. So she made sure my mom ordered some nacho fries for me. I was like, I was going to skate, but well, I'm not saying anything to the kid. I just ate the nacho fries because I said, thank you for thinking of me. Because I wasn't going to get anything on that one because, she's still trying to bait me to pull me back into the stuff. But now it's like I'm seeing how she's using the kid on that end too, because that's what she did yesterday. And of course I went along with it because it's the kid. And it's like, But then everything today has just been adding on to that whole thing. Oh, and that was another thing. When I started skating, the first mile. Okay, now I've talked on here before about how I know from where I'm parked right here, if I go around this loop and go back around the bus area and turn around at the sign and go back in like reverse, except for come in the other entrance of the parking lot, if I do that twice, it's a mile. I did that twice and my app didn't say anything. It's like, what's happening? So I knew I was over a mile, but I didn't know how much. So I looked at the app, and I had turned the location off earlier and hadn't turned it back on. And I was so pissed. I hate it when I do that. That is like one of my biggest pet peeves for myself, is when I don't have an accurate read on how much or how far I went because I did something stupid like forget to turn the miles on. It only happened one other time, and it pissed me off so much that, the next 1,000 miles or so that I've skated out here, I never made that mistake again until today. And it's like, oh, let's think of all the things that contributed to me getting to that point and having that kind of fuck up. Although I did, like, where I was when I stopped, because I was like, this app hasn't said anything. There's a problem with it. So I looked at it and found out I didn't have the location on it. And I was pissed enough. It's like, no, I'm not doing it this way. I stopped and like I ended the skate for that time and then restarted it. Where I started was at 12 minutes and 20, or where I ended the last one was at 12 minutes and 22 seconds and 121 calories. So it's all ones and twos again. But yeah, that just kind of pissed me off. But that was one of those things that really, I think, helped to lock in all the different points of how easily it is to get to that sabotage mode, right? It's just all these little things that when you're not self-honoring in this way and you start going against what is right for you, it is really easy to get pulled back into somebody else's shit and then get completely knocked off balance. It's like knowing that this possibility to be put in front of somebody is a possible thing at this point in time. It's like, so basically this is showing me why I need to be especially diligent on my energy. And like the deal with my mom, I should have stopped there and like scrubbed with the salt to get that whole situation and her ickiness out of my energy, because then it just like everything was blah from there on. You know, that was one of the things I was talking about as I left, was I've talked to the group before about how I know the way that I transmute energy is I take it into my system. The toxicity, the density, all that stuff. It's like I hold it in my system and I have to clear it out. And I know this. And I did not register yesterday and all these times along the way until after I had the fuck up in skating that was where I went wrong. It's like it's like once, you know, that parasitic thing, it's like once it starts on one place, then it, like all these other little things try to wedge their way in to block you from the good things too. So yes, partly self-sabotage, but also because you opened it up to the negativity from others, because you had doubts about your worthiness or whatever, you know, you're just amplifying that end as well. So it's like, yeah, we're not doing that. So yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up before my thing kicks me out because it loses storage space, and then go delete some shit, because I always delete the videos, but I don't delete the trash out often enough, so that's kind of, everything's stuck there. So I'm gonna wrap it up and go home and take a shower and scrub with the salt and get all this icky shit out of my space and my energy. Skating helps, but it's not the full thing. So there's a lot of stuff that's been trying to pull me back in. So I gotta go get it back there. Get it back off of me. And then possibly spend some time writing tonight, because I've had a bunch of stuff that I've been connecting today too. As always, I appreciate you. Until the next time, see ya.